You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Happy Tuesday. We are back and doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. I'm your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group. We did not have a podcast on Friday. That was just due to just the general work, bad timing. Monday, just exhausted. It was one of those days. You ever one of those days where you just feel drugged because you've been go for like a while? That's where I was yesterday. But that's good news because that means that there's been work to be done. Granted, we had some extracurriculars. We had the the Churko and Company charity softball game. My team, along with Aaron McMahon, we destroyed the opposition while raising money for charity. Took a class that had nothing to do with anything on Sunday. I don't know why I'm filling you in on my daily. That's where we're at. But we are back in the action of Michigan football today. We had a press conference on Friday. We had a press conference today. Friday we had a couple defensive players and an offensive player who I just can't remember who it is offhand. I love the person, by the way, who said that the only thing that I remember is that I don't remember anything. Accurate. Very accurate. See, sometimes I read the comments. Sometimes. Depends on the topic. Because sometimes I know what I said is going to get Michigan fans riled in a good way, but I know it's going to welcome a bunch of rival fans. I mean, everything when it comes to Michigan is going to welcome a bunch of rival fans. It just is. With that said, it's one of the things we're going to talk about today is some of the rival fans. It's probably nothing different than what I say all the time, but it's always worth repeating it because there's just some insanity out there. I do want to talk about today. We spoke to Grant Newsome and Ron Bellamy. Ron Bellamy had some particularly tantalizing things to say, and I was just talking off air to Wolverines Wire writer. I'm almost Jamie Morrising this thing. If anyone listens to me on the M Zone, he usually can't say Wolverines Wire, but I just did the same thing. But I was talking to Trent Knoop right before recording here, and he and I are just talking about this offense, and it's like it is so tantalizing, but there is the big caveat. Will Michigan utilize all the pieces it has at its disposal? I think you'd feel a little bit better for sure about it in some ways if Gaddis was back, because you feel like he learned a lot of the lessons he needed to learn, right? He figured things out. And by the end of the year, with some exceptions, I still think about to the Georgia game, these slow developing trickish plays. Wasn't going to work against Georgia. What are you doing? Like, as soon as you start seeing guys run around the backfield, it's like, that's not going to work against them, man. Get rid of the ball quickly. I don't coach football, but I can tell you that. You know? Like, you don't have time to let something develop against a team that has that type of defense. But against teams like Iowa, Ohio State, absolutely beautiful. And part of that is, I mention Ohio State in particular, because you think back to that play, the first touchdown, when it feels like everything is maybe on the table. I mean, still there's a little bit of, all right, well, we've seen this story play out this way before, because I don't remember about 2015 per se, but I don't remember 2016 either. That was on the road, but at home, 2017, Michigan scored the first 14 points. Definitely remember that. 2019, first touchdown came courtesy of Giles Jackson. And then, but this was a little bit different, the first touchdown in 2019, because you had Donovan Edwards coming up. And considering what Donovan Edwards did the week before against Maryland, the best game that anyone had receiving, if memory serves, a year ago when he had 10 catches for 170 yards. And then you've got AJ Henning out on the field at the same time. So that already has a certain duality to it, because AJ Henning had Michigan's longest rushing touchdown of the year. So your running back, your freshman running back, had the most receiving yards, and your sophomore wide receiver had the longest rushing touchdown. So you already know that things are kind of amiss in that sense if you're the opposition. So Michigan has two players, and this is what I asked Ron Bellamy about. I'm like, what do you do? You know, like, how do you, like, you've got all this versatility. And of course he's like, well, you know, that's the great thing is, like, Donovan, obviously, you know, we taught him how to be a receiver when he was in high school. We taught him how to do all of that. AJ Henning used to play some quarterback every now and again in high school. And then, but they are masters at this other position group, essentially. That just opens up so many possibilities and opportunities for this offense. Again, if you use it right. Now, part of me is confident, even though we haven't seen it, I'm more confident in some ways in Sharon and Matt Weiss. Sharon was around to watch Josh Gaddis make his mistakes the entire way, right? They're very public mistakes, you know, from just getting acclimated in 2019, but I think the bigger ones being in 2020. He's watched the success and failures, and everyone kind of talks about how smart Sharon Moore is. Matt Weiss, this is where I get really annoyed with people in my profession. And this is where I'm talking about is something I'm sure you've all seen. RJ Young, Fox Sports, leaving Michigan off of his preseason top 25 and going to defend it. And he's like, listen, we don't know. Like, we know Josh Gaddis is a Broyles Award winner. But we don't know about this Sharon Moore, as he said. Or Matt Weiss, who comes from Baltimore. Only when it comes to Michigan, weirdly, is there just like this weird connotation from guys coming from the NFL. Because generally we look at NFL caliber coaches, players, all of that as being ahead of college. There's only one place in college that you can generally say, probably not so much, and that's recruiting, right? Because they don't have to recruit. But usually when you have an NFL guy, it's like, okay, their knowledge level is way up here compared to, you know, it's all kind of turned on its head, and it does, especially with Michigan, right? So that's where you get into some kind of weird areas, because I have so much faith in what Matt Weiss is able to do. Like, you were essentially the architect. You weren't the offensive coordinator, but you were the one who oversaw the greatest rushing attack the NFL has ever seen. Cumulatively, not the best running back, but cumulative rushing yards. Yeah, they had Lamar Jackson, but they had, you know, when you have Lamar Jackson and you still figure out a way to get the running backs involved, I mean, that's a challenge, right? So I have a ton of faith in what Matt Weiss is able to do. But we still have to see how they manage all of this. I want to continue talking about this. I've got, I don't know that we're going to talk too much about Friday's press conference. It's kind of in the past at this point. But I definitely want to touch on the one thing that stood out to me from that. So we will at least touch on that. We'll finish out with a little bit of rivalry fodder, just because just some ridiculousness here and there when it comes to rivalry stuff. But listen, before we do, as you gear up for the fall, you need the right people on your team to help your small business fire on all cylinders. LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find the people you want to talk to faster and for free. Create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to help spread the word that you're hiring on your network so that you can help find the right people to hire. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. That's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. Still feeling the scourge of yesterday's exhaustion. 4:15 on energy drink number 2. Really digging these Ghost Sour Patch Kids Red Berry. It's keeping me alive, but we're doing the podcast a little earlier than I normally do. Normally I do it at 6 or 7 o'clock at night. It's 4:15 at the moment. Not that it will be that your time unless you listen tomorrow. Tomorrow being Wednesday. Who knows when y'all listen to this? It's the thing about podcasts. I treat it like radio, like it's live. It's not live. But nonetheless, all right. Let's get back to this offensive situation. Now, here's my hypothetical for you. One of the things about Donovan Edwards before I get to the hypothetical is he threw a 75-yard touchdown in the Big Ten championship game. So now between him, AJ Henning, who can run and pass, Roman Wilson, who we've seen do jet sweeps as well, and then you just add in any number of guys. How do you defend it? You could have any number of combinations, but just having AJ Henning and Donovan Edwards on the field at the same time, which I feel is going to happen a lot because one of them nominally is a wide receiver and the other nominally is a running back. But they can do each other's roles. They can do anything. You can have those two. You can have Blake Corum on the field. You can hand it off to Donovan Edwards or throw to Blake Corum. There's so many things that you can do. Now, obviously, want Blake's hands to be better than they were last year. But you are in a situation where you just have so many different guys that you can do just about anything with. And if you're a defense, how do you prepare for that? Because you can sit there and say, well, that's the receiver, that's the running back. They're going to burn you one way or the other. And Michigan got its first touchdown against Ohio State in large part because Donovan Edwards came onto the field and they were like, oh, we know what that guy does. We saw what he did last week. Not today, Satan. And instead, Michigan's like, ha, gotcha. And it kind of doesn't matter what you do because if you load up for one, you can do the other. And that's the beauty of the RPO in a lot of ways, too. You can design these things. You can look at where the pressure is coming from. So it's just going to be one of those things where suddenly, if they have a stacked box, then it's wide open to throw. I mean, I'm just teaching the basic tenets of football now. You're right. But I mean, that is the benefit because it can come from anywhere. You know, you can delay things. You can delay the handoff. You can delay the pass. You can, just end up having a delayed screen and it could go for something because suddenly, oh, yep, defense is like, that's a pass. Watch out for Donovan Edwards in the pass. Oh, turns out it's just a screen to AJ Henning. He looked like he was getting the run action. And on top of that, outside of those guys, you can add in all kinds of other things because like those two gentlemen can present a lot of information to you. And that is going to make you as the defense say, we need to stop those guys. But then Ronnie Bell's back in the mix. This offense could be unstoppable. And I was just saying to Trent, we talk a lot about, and when I say we, it's the proverbial we, and as in the media in general, talk about Ohio State and its offense. Ohio State's got some players, and on paper, Ohio State is one of, if not the best offense in the country. But when it comes to proven talent, I think I'd take Michigan. Again, I know that's the random Ohio State fans that love to come on here and just listen for whatever reason. I'm not saying that I think that Michigan overall is the better offense, but from a personnel perspective, Ohio State has a lot more to prove. Jackson Smith and Jigba might be the best wide receiver in the country. And when I say might be, it leans towards he is. CJ Stroud is up there at quarterback. Travion Henderson looked every bit of what he was expected to look like by people who followed with his recruitment in year one, which means he's dangerous that much more so in year two. Marvin Harrison has apparently had a really good offseason. Outside of those guys, and there's others, I mean, unfortunately for them, that looks like they lost Evan Pryor for the season with an injury. We don't know yet. Julian Fleming, is he going to come on in year 3? Igmeka Egbuka, I think I'm saying that name right. They've got a lot of guys, and they keep on adding to it. I don't remember who the 2022 wideouts are. 2023, they got Carnell Tate and Brandon Innes. It's just like, it just doesn't stop. 5-star, 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 5-star. With that said, I look at Michigan. Joe Moore award-winning offensive line gets an upgrade at center, and that's not a knock on Vastardis. That just says how good Olu Oluwatimi is. I'm confident in the right tackles. The tight end room has, they're confident with 4. I'm confident with 2. No, 3. Because we haven't really seen much Carter Selzer. He's been around. He's in his 6th year. We know Joe Honigford is really good at blocking, and he made a catch against Nebraska. I feel really good about Eric All and Luke Schoonmaker. Eric All, who's up another 10 pounds, by the way. And then, so you've got the offensive line is just unbelievable, right? It was the best in college football last year. It returns 2/3 of it, or 3/5 rather. They plow in another starter that was a Remington finalist. And then one of the other 2 guys got so much playing time. Carson Barnhart, not as much last year, but even he started games. And then you add in the fact that Michigan's 8 deep at wide receiver, with 5 guys, actually 9 deep at wide receiver, with 5 guys who you feel like you can count on. I'm not going to add 10th, which is Ronnie Bell said on Friday. See, I just remembered through context. I asked him who was the most impressive wideout that maybe would surprise us, and he said Peyton O'Leary, walk on. I'm not going to count on that per se, but you've got Ronnie Bell, Cornelius Johnson, AJ Henning, Andrell Anthony, Roman Wilson, Mike Sainer still. So, I mean, it goes even deeper than what I'm even saying, right? I'm not even mentioning Christian Dixon because we haven't really seen him. And I'm not mentioning the freshmen yet. And then you've got the running backs. You got Blake Corum, who rushed for almost 1,000 yards, would have had it had he not been injured, having to sit out 2 games, 3 games? 3 games. So you add all that together, and it looks wonderful. It's only if Michigan does not have the best offensive season that it's ever had, it's due to mismanagement. Because this is, I think, top to bottom more impressive than even like the 2006, 2007 years. Because even then, like you looked at like 2006, Mike Hart was the guy. Yeah, you had some others. Kevin Grady was there, I believe, in 2006. He was in 2007. Listen, if I can't remember what happened yesterday, I can't remember what happened in 2006. Wide receiver, you had 2 guys, Mario Manningham, Adrian Arrington. There were some others, of course, but you had the number 1 overall draft pick in Jake Long. You felt good about some other guys like Adam Krause next to him and whatever. But listen, top to bottom, this is an even deeper team. They might not be remembered that way because I don't think they're necessarily going to have as many statistical standouts due to the absolute depth. But it's incredible. And if Michigan does not have the best offensive season that it's ever had, it's due to mismanagement. All right, I do want to get to the rivalry fodder, what grinds my gears, so to speak. But before we do, if you haven't tried a Built Bar Puff yet, you are depriving yourself of one of life's greatest joys. Guess what? There's a new flavor. Are you ready? Delicious, indulgent cookie dough covered in chocolate. That's right. Built has done it once again. Let me introduce you to your new favorite. Cookie dough chunk puffs have a light and chewy texture, real cookie dough chunks. And of course, they're covered in 100% real chocolate. All the joys of eating cookie dough without the hassle of making it. Plus, it's healthy for you. I want it. I'm not going to lie. I want it. Cookie dough chunk puffs are only 160 calories and they have a whopping 15 grams of protein in them. Run to Built.com to snag a box for you and the family. It will be the perfect treat where you can find a really good hiding place and hoard them for yourself, just like I always do when I buy a box of Built Bar. Always. I learned my lesson. Like all Built Bars, the new cookie dough chunk puff is covered in 100% real chocolate. That means they're healthy and tasty. Chocolate covered cookie dough with light, fluffy texture. So good. What's great about Built is that all their bars are made with collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently and provides tons of health benefits. Eat something that tastes good and is good for you. You're going to love the new cookie dough chunk puff. Whether you need a snack for your workout, a late night treat, or to grab a quick bite, Built is the perfect protein bar and they taste better than candy bar. Ditch the calories, fat, and sugar. Grab yourself a Built Bar. Go to Built.com. Use the promo code LOCKEDON15 to get 15% off of your order. That's Built.com, promo code LOCKED15. So good. The energy drink's keeping me alive. Probably also killing me too. But making it possible for me to lumber through speaking for 30 uninterrupted minutes. For anyone who says you should have a co-host, which I get like once every now and again when I look at the comments. No. That's, if you think that my timing is irregular as it is, it would become even more so if I have to coordinate with somebody else. FYI. So, no. I don't know why that came up. It just made me think about that real quick. That, like, coordinating with somebody else, it's a whole different thing. All right. Enough airing my own personal laundry. Let's air some rivalry laundry. I'd love to give the award once again to the Ohio State Buckeye fans for being the absolute softest in college football. I'd say I don't want to call you all out, but I kind of do. It has nothing to do with the fact that Michigan won last year, except that it kind of does as well, because it proves that they are soft. That is something that I'm pretty sure I had a podcast talking about it the week of the game, before the game. If I'm not mistaken, it was the Tuesday before the game. Maybe it was Wednesday. And then they went out and proved it, and they'll continue to prove it. Lately, the reason why I'm feeling this way is just the pent-up anger over what happened at Big Ten Media Days. I'm still getting comments every day on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, of upset Ohio State fans because Jim Harbaugh was asked by Cleveland.com writer, beat reporter covering Ohio State football, Doug Lesmerises, who asked Jim Harbaugh, was your third base comment about Ryan Day? And he said, I have no comment at this time. And you would think that Jim Harbaugh bought Ohio State fans a puppy, let them all get attached to the puppy, and then kidnapped the puppy. Because they are so upset by it. And the thing that makes it that much more funny is it might be true, and I wonder if that's why they're so upset. We'll find out if it's true. one way or the other, if it's true or false. If Ryan Day goes out there and really just, Ohio State goes undefeated, goes through. I mean, their schedule is tough, man. Their schedule is like Michigan's was last year, except for their tough games. Some of those games are at home. Actually, I think all of them are that you would consider to be the tougher ones. Notre Dame, Wisconsin, Iowa, Michigan, all at home. Penn State and Michigan State on the road, but all of the really tough ones on the home. But they have those 6 games on the schedule. That's tough, man. So, if they get through that unscathed, they'll have earned it. They go to the college football playoff and manage to get past Alabama or whoever else, then, okay. Maybe you're born on third base, but you learned how to hit. There's nothing wrong with that comment, but they're so upset because Jim Harbaugh went out and said it. And they're almost even more upset because an Ohio State writer asked him about the question, or asked him about the statement, and he answered it at all. That he wasn't just falling over himself trying to praise the Ohio State University. And I see all these comments and stuff like that. And not to throw a colleague under the bus, but one of my colleagues that runs Buckeyes Wire wrote about the toughest games and that Ohio State will have all year. He had Michigan at number 2 or 3 or something like that. And said, with all of the talking that's coming out of Ann Arbor, all these players and whatever, I can assure you, this is the lowest level of talking I've even seen from a Michigan team about Ohio State. When they talk about Ohio State, what they say is oh yeah, that was last year. It doesn't mean anything if we don't do something about it this year. I remember when Khaleke Hudson said after 2018 that we were still the better team than Ohio State, even though we lost 62-39. So, I don't, maybe it was 2019, I don't remember. One of those 2 years. This Michigan team has not been talking at all, aside from Jim Harbaugh's one comment. Otherwise, you bring up Ohio State to these Michigan players, they are just politically neutral. You'd think that they weren't even really that involved in it. And you got Ohio State people being they just won't stop talking. Yeah, when they're asked about it, they'll talk. Refresh my memory. Who was going to hang 100 on the other? That's, I think, what makes Michigan fans want to talk that much more. And what makes Michigan fans also want to talk that much more is the fact that Ohio State fans like to come out and say things like, enjoy your 1 year. You're about to get absolutely creamed this next year because now we're angry. Number one, that's not how football works. Just isn't. It might work. That might happen for a drive, right? But then teams settle in. You don't think Michigan was angry this entire time? The coaching staff probably just should have been angrier, but the players inside the locker room wanted to win just as much as anybody. And I'm sorry, to the victors go the spoils. Michigan fans can talk all they want because they won. Just like Michigan State fans can talk about Michigan all they want. They won. Just is what it is. That's how it works. And I say what you want for Michigan State fans. They're obnoxious in my eyes. As someone who went to the University of Michigan, that covered the team very partially, and now that I do my best to cover not just Michigan but the Big Ten as impartially as possible. Michigan State fans are super obnoxious. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Ohio State fans, you're just soft. And listen, to the credit of it all, and I know there's so many people out there that that are Michigan fans watching or listening to this and being like, yeah, I'm feeling this. Wait a month, because I'm gonna rip on you too. As longtime listeners to this program know, I rip on Michigan fans all the time too. It's just how it goes. But still, no one's softer out there than all of you who really celebrate the Ohio State University. Okay, I've got 5 seconds left, so thank you for watching and or listening. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.